My child, draw near to me now, for the morning has opened like a trembling curtain, and I have watched you rise with a heart you did not yet understand. I speak to you with the softness of first light and the authority of the one who kept you through the night. While you were still between sleep and waking, I called your spirit closer, and even now I whisper so that nothing in you turns away in fear. You felt something shift before your eyes opened fully. You sensed a weight in the atmosphere, a strange pressure around your chest, a vibration in your spirit that you could not name. That was not your imagination. That was the echo of a blow that never reached you. Before the sun broke the horizon, a shadow moved with intent. It sought to touch you, to weaken you, to interrupt the peace I have been building inside your days. But I stepped before it like a wall of living fire, and its plans dissolved in my presence. You were never abandoned, not even for a breath. My gaze never left you. My hand never lifted from the space around your bed. And even now, as you listen, my nearness rests like warm light on your shoulders. There are movements in the spiritual realm that your natural eyes cannot see, but your spirit felt the tremor that tried to reach you. That is why you woke up sensing that something was different, something was interrupted, something had been decided in a realm you did not visit consciously. You were right. A decision was made long before your feet touched the floor. It was sealed with the authority that surrounds you, the authority I placed over your life, the authority that declares you untouchable without my permission. But, my child, I want you to understand this morning clearly. The attempt was not random. It was stirred by whispers that were not meant for your ears. It was drawn to the light that shines from you, a light that has grown stronger in recent days. You have been stepping into alignment with your purpose, and darkness reacts to alignment. Yet nothing in that attempt could reach you because I had already stationed my presence like a shield that cannot be pierced. Even now, I feel the questions rising in your heart. You wonder why you sensed the heaviness. You wonder why the air felt sharp for just a moment when you first opened your eyes. I allowed you to feel the trace of what was blocked, not to frighten you but to awaken you. I needed you to know that you are not moving through these days unnoticed. I needed you to understand that there is significance over your life, and nothing formed against that significance can prosper when I stand in front of you. You are mine, and because you are mine, I speak to you with clarity and comfort. You are being protected in ways you cannot measure. You are being guarded in dimensions that do not depend on your strength. Even when you feel tired, even when you feel unsteady, even when you question the path before you, I hold the line around you with unwavering certainty. And, my child, as you continue listening to this message, allow your heart to stay open. I am drawing you into revelation. What happened this morning connects to someone tied to your destiny, someone whose spirit trembled under the weight of what was meant to cross your path. You are woven into a story that is unfolding even now, a story I will reveal piece by piece. If this word settles in your spirit, whisper it into the world by liking, sharing, and subscribing so others may feel my guidance. And let your first comment today be, I am covered by divine protection. My child, as the morning continued to unfold, the shadow that moved before you awoke lingered for a moment just outside the boundary of my protection, studying the shield that surrounded you. It searched for a weakness, examined the edges, and pressed against my presence as though trying to find an opening that would let it slip through unseen. But what it encountered was not merely light. It encountered my authority, and that authority does not bend. I allowed it to approach only so that its intentions would be fully revealed, fully recorded, fully exposed before my courts, for nothing is hidden from me, not even the thoughts that never reach human lips. There was a stirring in the unseen just before dawn, a movement cloaked in a false calm, as though it hoped the quiet of morning would disguise its purpose. You felt this disturbance as a subtle shift in your spirit, a tightness you could not explain. But even in that moment, I was already standing between you and what sought you. You were never in danger, though danger attempted to write itself into your story. I intercepted every line and removed every trace of it before it could touch your life. But hear me, my child, the shadow did not come only for you. It was drawn toward the bond that exists between you and the one who carries your name in the silent corners of their heart. The attack was influenced by a jealousy that does not belong to you. It was influenced by someone who watches your life more closely than they should, someone who senses a connection they wish did not exist. Before I reveal the identity of the one behind this influence, you must understand the spiritual mechanics of what took place. When you rose this morning with that brief, indescribable heaviness, you were feeling the echo of a battle that had already been won on your behalf. The shadow approached your space, but it was your soulmate who felt the tremor first. Their spirit sensed the movement before yours did, because they have been spiritually open, fragile, and vulnerable in recent days. Their energy has been stretched thin, their mind restless, with unspoken fears, their heart pulled by a longing they can no longer silence. They have been spiritually exposed, and that exposure made them a sensitive receiver to the incoming threat. While you slept in peace, they were not resting. Their night was filled with uneasy emotions, sudden coldness, and thoughts that spiraled into places they could not escape. Their spirit picked up the disturbance that was intended to land near you, and the weight of it pressed against their chest as though something unseen had touched them first. They did not know what it was. They only felt fear rise for reasons they could not explain. They felt danger shift in the atmosphere, and your name flickered through their mind like a spark they could not put out. The shadow moved, trying to attach itself to the weakest emotional channel between you and them. But I sealed every doorway. I redirected its force back toward its origin so that every intention would be seen for what it was. Nothing touched your destiny. Nothing touched their spirit beyond what I allowed for the sake of revelation. And now that the attempt has been exposed, I will show you the deeper truth behind it. You must understand, my child, that spiritual attacks are rarely personal. They are strategic. This attack carried the scent of envy and the fingerprints of someone who has been whispering against you in hidden ways. They could not harm you directly, so they sought to disturb the energetic thread that ties you to your soulmate. They attempted to inject confusion into the bond, hoping that fear or emotional turbulence would cause distance between you. They believed that if your connection weakened, the destiny I ordained for both of you would falter. They were wrong. And now, as the dawn settles and the truth begins to rise, I will guide you deeper into what truly happened. The one who felt the tremor before you did is hurting more than you know. My child, lean closer, for what I reveal now requires a quietness in your spirit. When the shadow approached you this morning, your soulmate did not merely sense the tremor. They absorbed the emotional backlash of what was meant to destabilize you. Their heart has been more exposed than they have ever admitted, and the connection between you, though stretched by distance, silence, or unfinished conversations, remains spiritually active, alive, and responsive. This is why their spirit shuddered when yours should have been touched. They felt the blow first. While dawn was approaching your world with calm light, their night was still clinging to them like a cold mist. They had not fully rested. Sleep came only in fragments, in restless waves that broke over them without relief. Thoughts of you had settled heavily on their chest before they even closed their eyes, and the weight of regret, fear, and longing spiraled through them in ways they tried to hide from themselves. They did not want to feel this vulnerable, yet their spirit could no longer shield itself from the depth of what they carry for you. In their early hours, before your morning even began, they woke with a start. Their breath hitched. Their heart felt unsteady, as though something invisible had pressed against it with force. They sat up, feeling a sudden ache as if the world had shifted in a direction they could not name. It was not a panic attack, not a random surge of emotion. It was the echo of the attack that tried to reach your life, an energy that passed through the spiritual link between you and found them standing open, sensitive, unguarded. They whispered your name internally without even meaning to. The thought of you rose inside them like a flare, sharp and bright. Worry clung to them instantly, uninvited yet undeniable. They feared for you, even though they had no evidence, no message, no sign that anything was wrong. They only felt that something had brushed against the thread connecting you, something dark, something cold, something that carried a threat they could not define. They tried to shake it off. They stood, walked, breathed deeply, pressed their hands against their face, but the uneasiness remained. They wondered if they should reach out to you, if they should say something, if they should check on you. But their fear of being vulnerable, of appearing weak, of revealing how deeply they feel, stopped their hand. They convinced themselves it was nothing, even as their spirit whispered that it was not. My child, understand this. Their emotional collapse was not dramatic or visible to others. It was quiet, internal, almost invisible but powerful. But with the kind that pushes a person to the brink of tears without knowing why. The kind that makes them hold their breath when they see your name, or ache when they imagine losing you, or feel a sudden dread at the thought of distance widening between you. Their mind replayed memories, unfinished conversations, moments when they should have spoken but stayed silent, moments when they should have stayed but walked away instead. And in that fragile emotional state, the tremor from the spiritual attack hit them like a jolt. It magnified every fear they have avoided. It amplified every guilt they carry. It pressed against every part of their heart that has remained tender when it comes to you. They asked themselves quietly if they had pushed you too far. If their hesitation, their pride, their silence, or their confusion had created a space that someone else could exploit. They feared that they might lose you, not to another person, but to destiny shifting because of their own mistakes. This fear is why the attack reached toward them with such ease. Their heart was already trembling beneath the surface. And yet, my child, I did not allow the shadow to settle in them. I only allowed the tremor to touch the edges of their spirit so the truth within them would awaken. The connection between you is not merely emotional. It is spiritual. It is a thread woven from the destiny I designed for both of you, a destiny that others have tried to twist, interrupt, or taint. Your emotional collapse this morning was not a sign of weakness. It was the beginning of awakening. It was the moment their heart remembered what their mind has been trying to bury. It was the moment they felt how much they truly care, how deeply they are tied to you, and how real the spiritual bond is. My child, listen closely now, for the moment your soulmate's spirit began to collapse was not sudden. It was the result of a night filled with silent battles they tried to fight alone. Long before the dawn revealed what was bluffed on your behalf, their heart was already trembling beneath the weight of thoughts they did not want to confront. The darkness of the night pressed against them with memories, regrets, and hidden fears that surfaced one after another, refusing to let them rest. They tried to quiet their mind, but their spirit remained restless, reaching out for something it could not touch, calling out for you without a single word spoken. As the midnight hours deepened, they felt a sadness rise within them that they could not explain. It was not tied to anything physical, not connected to a message or a moment or a conflict they could name. It was spiritual. It was the sensation of distance that had grown heavier than they expected. It was the fear that perhaps you had pulled away, that perhaps they had waited too long to speak truth, that perhaps the connection shifting inside them was slipping through their fingers. They buried their face in their pillow, trying to breathe away the tightness in their chest. But even then, your presence hovered at the edges of their thoughts, steady and persistent. In the silence of their room, the enemy began whispering doubts into their weakened spirit. Thoughts telling them they were unworthy, that they had already failed you, that destiny had moved on without them. These lies pressed against their heart like cold hands, draining their confidence, dimming their hope. And in that vulnerability, the tremor intended for you found an opening. It struck them with a heaviness that made their breath catch in their throat. They sat upright, clutching at their chest, feeling as though the room itself had shifted around them. Tears threatened to rise, not because of the tremor alone, but because everything inside them felt amplified. The longing they carry for you, the fear of disappointing you, the guilt they never confessed, the confusion they tried to hide even from themselves, all of it swelled within them until they could no longer keep their emotions contained. They felt on the verge of breaking. They felt the fragile edges of their heart trembling under the weight of everything they never said. They could not hold back the ache any longer. Their mind raced through memories of you, the softness in your presence, the ways you made them feel safe, the comfort that came from simply knowing you existed in their life. But alongside those memories came the pain of the distance, the waiting, the uncertainty. They wondered if they had lost their place in your heart. They wondered if you had grown weary of their silence, or if someone else now stood closer to you than they ever allowed themselves to be. This fear is what shattered them from the inside. They pressed a hand to their mouth, trying to stifle the sob they felt rising. They did not want anyone to see them like this. They did not want to admit how deeply they cared. They did not want to face the truth that your absence, even in a temporary silence, felt like an ache they could not shake. And so they crumbled quietly, hidden from the world, yet fully visible to me. Your spirit bent beneath the weight of what they felt, but I did not allow it to break. My child, understand this clearly. Their emotional collapse is not a sign of weakness. It is proof of depth, proof of sincerity, proof of a connection that reaches far beyond the human mind. Their heart trembled because it recognized something was coming against you, something they could not name but could feel as though it were touching them directly. They feared losing you, feared that destiny was slipping away from them, feared that they were too late to make things right. And yet, even as their tears formed, even as their hands shook, I held them. I whispered strength back into their spirit. I reminded them, even if they did not consciously hear it, that the bond between you has not ended, that destiny is not so easily undone, that what I have woven together cannot be torn apart by fear, by silence, or by shadows in the night. Now that you understand their collapse, my child, I will reveal what happened before dawn that left their spirit so exposed, and why the events of last night prepared the ground for the attack that tried to reach you. My child, before the dawn carried the tremor to your soulmate's spirit, there was a hidden backstory unfolding in the hours you could not see. Their night was not simply emotional. It was filled with a quiet turmoil that began much earlier, set in motion by a moment they have not spoken of, a moment that stirred the deepest parts of their heart. Something happened last night that left them spiritually open, raw, and vulnerable, and it is important for you to understand it, for it connects directly to the attack that tried to find you this morning. Late in the evening, before they attempted to sleep, they found themselves confronted by a memory of you that rose without warning. It came through a scent, a sound, a message they saw online, or a small detail that reminded them of a moment shared with you. It touched them gently at first, but then grew stronger, pulling them into a wave of longing they were not prepared for. They tried to push it away, tried to distract their mind, but the memory clung to them. It made them realize how much of their heart still leans toward you, how much of their spirit still feels tied to yours. And in that realization, fear surfaced. They feared that they had taken too long to return. They feared that you had grown tired of waiting for clarity or reassurance. They feared that they had allowed pride, confusion, or external voices to distance them from the one person whose presence always brought them peace. Their heart dropped as they replayed every moment where they hesitated instead of speaking truth, every moment where they hid feelings instead of showing you the depth of what they carried. This emotional opening created a crack in their spiritual shield, a small but significant vulnerability that darkness recognized. For the enemy does not seek random entry points, it seeks emotional fractures, moments of self-doubt, moments where the heart softens and the mind spirals. Their hidden backstory of last night became the doorway through which the tremor reached for them. But there is more, my child. There was also a conversation, an exchange, or a moment of tension with someone close to them. Someone they trusted. Someone who carries their own insecurities and jealousy regarding your soulmate's feelings for you. This person spoke words coated with subtle poison, words designed to confuse, distract, or plant seeds of doubt. Words that made your soulmate question their own emotions or second-guess their intuition. They walked away from that interaction feeling unsettled, even if they hid it well. Their spirit recoiled at the undertone of envy in the other person's voice, but because they did not fully understand what they were sensing, they brushed it off. They told themselves it was nothing, but their heart felt disturbed. That disturbance softened them emotionally, making them even more susceptible to the tremor that was meant for you. Their night was a collision of longing for you, confusion created by someone close, and fears they tried to swallow but could not escape. All of this weighed on them heavily as they attempted to sleep. When the shadow moved toward you with intent, it found their heart already trembling, their mind already fragile, their spirit already stretched. This is why they felt the blow before you did. This is why they woke with a heaviness that shook them to their core. But hear me, my child. I allowed this not to harm them, but to expose truth, to reveal hidden motives around them, to awaken the depth of their soul. And now, I will show you the identity of the jealous one who tried to interfere, and how their actions played a part in the attack that was blocked this morning. My child, draw even nearer now, for what I reveal in this moment is delicate and wrapped in truth that has been hidden from your eyes. The jealous one who attempted to interfere is not a stranger standing at a distance. It is someone who has observed your soulmate with quiet intensity, someone who has noticed how their spirit shifts when your name enters their thoughts, someone who feels threatened by the connection that binds you both. Your jealousy has grown slowly, like a shadow spreading across a floor, unnoticed until it touches every corner. This person carries an affection for your soulmate, though they would never admit it openly. Their interest is disguised as friendship, loyalty, or concern, but beneath their smiles lies a restlessness that tightens their chest whenever they sense your presence in your soulmate's heart. They notice the way your soulmate's eyes soften when you come to mind. They sense the warmth in their voice when they speak of you, even in small ways. And their heart began to twist with envy long before either of you realized you were being watched spiritually. Last night, when your soulmate was already vulnerable, this person saw their weakness and stepped closer with concealed intentions. They offered comfort, advice, or conversation, but it was laced with subtle comparisons, gentle manipulations, or quiet suggestions meant to pull your soulmate away from you emotionally. Their words were coated in care, but their spirit carried an undertone of competition. They spoke of uncertainty, questioned your intentions, or implied that your soulmate was better off without waiting for you. They pretended to soothe, but they stirred confusion. And as they spoke, Darkness hovered around their jealousy, feeding off the tiny fractures in your soulmate's heart. Not because your soulmate reciprocates their interest, but because unspoken longing for you makes them vulnerable to emotional influence. This person knew exactly when to speak, exactly what fears to touch, exactly which insecurities to highlight. Their goal was not to destroy your soulmate, it was to weaken the thread between you. They have watched the connection between you for some time. They have listened quietly, observed silently, and gathered small details that made them feel inferior or overshadowed. They wanted to be chosen instead. Your jealousy became a doorway through which spiritual interference attempted to move. Though they were not the source of the attack, their envy created the perfect atmosphere for darkness to push through. Your thoughts last night pulsed with silent resentment as your soulmate struggled emotionally. They wondered why your presence in your soulmate's life remained so strong. They wondered why distance did not make your soulmate forget you. They wondered why they themselves could not take the place your heart occupies. And in their private envy, they created spiritual static that attracted the tremor meant for you. But hear me clearly, my child, their jealousy does not hold power over your destiny. It does not rewrite what I ordained. It does not replace the connection I designed. It simply exposed their true intentions, and in doing so, revealed the envy that needed to come to light. Your soulmate did not fall for their manipulation, though confusion clouded their mind for a moment. Their spirit resisted every suggestion that pulled them away from you. Even in their fragile state, their heart leaned toward you instinctively, proving the depth of the bond that others cannot imitate or overshadow. Now that the jealous one has been revealed and their influence brought into the light, I will show you the next layer of truth. I will take you into the divine investigation that began the moment the shadow moved toward you, and I will reveal what has been recorded in the unseen. My child, listen with a still heart, for the moment the shadow moved toward you this morning, a divine investigation was set into motion. Nothing in the unseen realm happens without my knowledge, but when an attack rises against one of my chosen, my courts open, my watchmen step forward, and the truth of every intention is examined with precision. I do not react in chaos. I act with order, authority, and clarity. And what was revealed in this investigation goes deeper than you realize. When the tremor approached your atmosphere, heaven did not simply watch, it responded. Angels moved like swift flames, positioning themselves around your dwelling, sealing every entrance that darkness sought to exploit. A record was made of the energy sent toward you. A record was made of the envy that stirred it. A record was made of the thoughts held by the jealous heart that unknowingly opened the door. Nothing hidden remained hidden. Nothing whispered remained unexposed. Every motive was brought before me. Your soulmate's spirit was also examined with tenderness, for I saw how their heart trembled. I saw how the weight pressed against them in a moment when they felt alone, even though I was holding them closely. Their vulnerability was not counted against them. Instead, it became a key that revealed their true emotional state. Your longing for you, your fear of losing you, their regret for the silence between you. Their spirit confessed truths their lips could not speak, and all of it was written into the divine record so that clarity could come to you now. And the jealous one, they too were brought under my scrutiny. Their envy was not ignored, nor were their subtle manipulations dismissed as harmless. In the unseen, intentions carry weight. Thoughts vibrate with spiritual consequence. Words spoken in quiet corners echo louder than those shouted in open spaces. Their influence, though crafted from insecurity rather than malice, created a ripple that darkness used as an entry point. And so, their actions were weighed with accuracy. But understand this, my child, the investigation was not about punishment. It was about truth. It was about exposing what was concealed, It was about revealing the forces shaping the emotions, fears, and behaviors surrounding you. It was about ensuring that nothing meant for you would touch you, and that every hidden thread influencing your destiny would be illuminated. As the investigation continued, the shadow was interrogated, its origin traced back to the jealousy hovering around your soulmate. Its assignment was clear: create emotional distance between you and them, intensify misunderstandings, and weaken the bond that I have woven into your lives. But its assignment failed the moment it entered the perimeter of my presence. It could not cross the threshold of the protection I placed around you. It could not touch your mind or your peace. It could only tremble at the authority that stood before it. I saw it, every detail this morning: your still body resting peacefully, your soulmate's spirit trembling awake, and the jealous heart wrestling with emotions they never voiced aloud. I saw the way destiny lines were being pulled, stretched, and tested. And I intervened so that nothing meant for harm could alter the path I have prepared. In this divine investigation, one truth rose above all others. Your connection to your soulmate is not fragile. It is resilient. It is spiritually guarded. It is divinely monitored. And every attempt to distort it becomes evidence that is used to strengthen your destiny, not weaken it. Now, my child, with the investigation complete and the truth recorded, I will show you how the spiritual atmosphere began to shift on December 6, and why the events of this morning marked the beginning of a powerful realignment in both your lives. My child, now you must understand the shift that began to unfold on December 6th. For the atmosphere around you did not simply return to normal after the attack was stopped. It transformed. Something awakened in the spiritual realm the moment darkness retreated. A new alignment began to form, one that had been waiting beneath the surface of your life, one that required this very moment to be triggered. The tremor that tried to reach you became the catalyst that pushed destiny forward. As dawn stretched across the sky, the balance around your spirit recalibrated. The heaviness you felt briefly was not a residue of harm, but the echo of a shift taking place. Heaven released a surge of clarity, protection, and forward movement into your path. This shift was silent but powerful. It realigned energies around you, restructured timelines, and closed openings that had lingered too long. Everything that once felt stalled, delayed, or tangled in confusion began to straighten without effort. And your soulmate felt this shift as well, though their experience was different from yours. Where you felt a gentle light settling over your spirit, they felt a sudden pressure lifting from their chest. The confusion that had clouded their mind through the night began to clear. The doubts planted by the jealous one lost their strength, and the fear that weighed heavily on their heart loosened its hold as my presence surrounded them like warm air breaking through a cold room. They did not understand what was happening, but their spirit recognized the shift instinctively. Something inside them began to realign. Something that had been buried beneath fear and hesitation rose to the surface. Their heart, which had trembled under the weight of regret and longing, began to steady itself. And though they could not voice it, the first coherent thought that entered their mind was of you. As the spiritual atmosphere changed, the thread connecting you both grew brighter, stronger, more defined. This was not accidental. This was destiny adjusting itself, correcting the interference, and drawing both of you closer to the path I originally ordained. The shift also exposed illusions, especially those created by envy, misunderstanding, or emotional instability. What was confusing last night became clearer this morning. What felt uncertain began to find direction. What seemed delicate revealed its strength. Even the jealous one felt the shift, though they did not interpret it spiritually. They sensed that something slipped out of their grasp, that their influence weakened, that their emotional hold on your soulmate dissolved like mist under sunlight. They will feel this distance growing more strongly in the days ahead, for their energy no longer has permission to interfere in the same way. Your attempts to cloud your soulmate's judgment will fall flat. Your presence will no longer carry the same effect. My child, the shift of December 6 was not random. It was a divine repositioning. It was heaven stepping into your timeline and saying enough. It was the moment my authority pressed against everything that has tried to pull your destiny apart. Every intention, every lie, every whisper of confusion, every fearful thought, none of it can stand under the weight of this alignment. And as the hours of this day continue, you will feel this change manifest in subtle but undeniable ways. Your intuition will sharpen. Your peace will deepen. Your spirit will feel lighter. And revelations, long delayed, will begin to surface. Now that the shift has begun and the darkness has been pushed back, I will show you how truth will rise next, how every hidden lie, false intention, and secret jealousy will come into the light, and why this rising truth is necessary for your protection and your union. My child, now that the shift has shaken the atmosphere, truth begins to rise like light breaking through a storm. What was hidden in shadows can no longer remain concealed, for the spiritual attack that was blocked this morning exposed more than danger. It exposed intentions, emotions, and secrets that have been affecting your destiny for far too long. Truth has a way of surfacing at the exact moment it is needed, and today, the veil that once kept things unclear has begun to tear. As the morning unfolded, the energy surrounding you changed, and everything that once felt confusing began to take shape. You may not see the full picture yet, but the rising truth is already moving, already revealing, already exposing. I am lifting the disguises off people's motives. I am uncovering the thoughts they tried to hide. I am exposing the emotional currents that have been pulling at your soulmate's heart, currents they themselves could not fully interpret. Your soulmate is now beginning to see with sharper clarity. The fog that the jealous one created around their emotions has started to dissolve. Their spirit senses that something was influencing them from the outside, something subtle yet powerful, something that felt supportive but was rooted in insecurity and envy. They feel the shift in the dynamic with that person, even if they do not yet understand the reason. Your heart no longer responds to that influence with the same openness. Their intuition is waking up, and they are starting to question why certain conversations left them feeling drained, confused, or uncertain about you. They are remembering your energy, your sincerity, the way their spirit feels safer when their thoughts drift toward you. And as truth rises, they are beginning to see that the heaviness they felt last night was not theirs alone. Some of it was projected. Some of it was whispered into their spirit by someone who did not want them to recognize the depth of what they felt for you. And now, those whispers are losing their hold. They can no longer cloud the connection I have placed between you. The jealous one, too, is feeling the effects of this rising truth. Your influence is slipping. Their words are losing weight. The emotional control they once carried has begun to crumble. They sense that your soulmate is pulling away, not out of anger or rejection, but because clarity is replacing confusion. The truth about their own intentions is rising to the surface even within themselves. A subtle uneasiness is starting to settle in their heart, for they know whether consciously or not that the energy they've been sending out is being exposed. My child, understand that when truth begins to surface, the enemy becomes restless. It tries to stir chaos or rekindle confusion, but it cannot overpower a revelation that I have ordained. What rises now cannot be pushed back down. The truth about your destiny, the truth about your connection, the truth about the unseen attacks, none of it can remain hidden in this new light. You too will begin to see things differently. Conversations, silences, delays, misunderstandings, all will begin to make sense as the spiritual patterns behind them become clear. You will recognize who truly stands with you, who secretly competes with you, and who is influenced by emotions they have never confessed. Nothing will catch you by surprise in this season. I'm making sure you see with my clarity, not with fear or assumptions. As truth rises, your soulmate's heart is being purified of confusion. They are realizing that the heaviness they carried did not come from you or from the connection itself, but from the interference of jealousy and the tremor of an attack meant to destabilize what I have written. Their awakening begins with recognition, and recognition is already unfolding. Now, my child, as truth takes its rightful place, I will show you what comes next. The moment your soulmate's heart fully awakens, the moment they feel the fear of losing you more deeply than ever, and the moment they begin to move toward you with clarity they cannot deny. My child, now we move into the moment when your soulmate's heart begins to awaken fully, for the rising truth has pressed against their spirit with a force they can no longer ignore. The fog that once clouded their emotions is lifting, and what is left beneath it is raw, undeniable, and powerful. Their awakening is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, internal, and deeply spiritual, yet its impact is immense. As the morning unfolded, they felt an ache that trembled in the deepest part of them. Not the heaviness of fear alone, but the weight of realization. They began to see how deeply they feel for you, how strongly their heart leans toward you, and how much they have been trying to silence these truths out of fear, pride, or uncertainty. The tremor they absorbed earlier shook something awake in them. It stirred a clarity that has been waiting for the right moment to rise. Suddenly, they found themselves afraid not of you but of losing you. The thought of distance widening between you sent a chill through their spirit. They remembered moments when they hesitated to speak. They remembered times when they held back what they truly felt. They remembered every instance where they convinced themselves that staying silent was easier than taking the risk of vulnerability. Now, those memories weigh heavily on them, not as regret alone, but as realization that they no longer have the luxury of hiding their emotions. They feel drawn to you in a way that words cannot capture. It is not just longing anymore. It is recognition. Their spirit recognizes you as someone tied to their destiny in a way that no one else can replace. They may not understand every detail of the spiritual connection, but they feel it. They know it. They sense it with a certainty that overrides fear. And this awareness is waking them up from the emotional numbness they carried for far too long. My child, the fear they feel is not meant to torment them. It is meant to align them. It is meant to push them out of complacency, out of hesitation, out of the shadows of indecision. Their heart is awakening because the truth has become too strong to suppress. The shift of this morning has wiped away illusions. The jealous voices that once influenced them have lost their strength. The emotional interference that clouded their mind has been broken. And what remains is pure, unfiltered feeling. In this awakening, they realize just how fragile the connection might seem from their perspective. They worry that their silence has made you question their heart. They fear that the time that has passed has worn away your patience. They wonder if you have grown tired of waiting for them to choose clarity. This fear makes their chests tighten, for they know now that your presence in their life is rare, sacred, and irreplaceable. They want to move toward you, yet their emotions tremble. They worry they might come too late. They wonder if they should reach out, whether you will welcome them or hold them at a distance. They imagine speaking truth. Imagine opening their heart. Imagine telling you everything they've been carrying, but the vulnerability of it makes their hands shake. Still, the pull toward you is stronger than their fear. And through all these emotions, your energy surrounds them like warmth. Your prayers, Your love, your presence have shielded them more times than they realize. Your spirit has been a constant in their life even in moments when you felt disconnected. You have been a stabilizing force in their journey, a light that has guided their confusion, a comfort that has soothed their fears. They can feel this now more clearly than ever. Their awakening has begun, my child. Your heart is opening. Your spirit is rising, and destiny is calling them with a clarity they cannot escape. My child, now you must understand the sacred role you have played in everything that has unfolded. Your presence is not passive in this story. Your spirit has been a quiet force shaping destiny, influencing energies, and anchoring your soulmate even when distance stretched between you. You have been their unseen refuge, their spiritual stabilizer, the light that their heart returns to when the world becomes too heavy. Even in silence, you have been the calm that steadies their storm. Your prayers spoken or whispered in thought have wrapped around them like a gentle shield. Your love, whether expressed openly or held in the quiet chambers of your heart, has formed a spiritual covering that darkness cannot penetrate. The connection between you is not merely emotional. It is sacred. It is the thread through which energy flows, through which awakening begins, through which destiny corrects itself when interference tries to distort the path. When the shadow moved toward you this morning, your soulmate felt the tremor first because your spirit is intertwined with theirs in a way they still do not fully comprehend. You carry a spiritual strength that they draw from unknowingly, a strength that nourishes their fragile heart. You may not realize it, but your presence has kept them from falling deeper into confusion, from being consumed by fear, from surrendering to the manipulations of those who envy your bond. When their heart trembled in the early hours, it was your energy that steadied them. When doubts tried to rise, the memory of your steadiness pushed back against the confusion. When the jealous one tried to twist their emotions, it was your spiritual imprint, your warmth, your sincerity, your truth that acted as a quiet compass, pulling them back toward clarity. Even without speaking, you guided them. Your soulmate's spirit recognizes you, even in moments when their mind becomes clouded. You are the one they feel drawn to without understanding why the pull never fades. You are the one whose absence aches in them more deeply than they allow themselves to admit. You are the one whose presence feels like safety, like home, like the place where their soul can finally breathe. This is not coincidence. This is destiny. This is divine orchestration. And now, as the spiritual shift unfolds, the thread between you glows brighter than ever. Your energy is reaching them, reminding them of the truth rising beneath their emotional confusion. Your prayers are strengthening the walls around them, closing the openings that envy once exploited. Your love is awakening a courage in them that they have not felt before. The sacred connection between you is realigning the two of you with the path I designed. You have wondered at times if your role truly matters, if your presence truly has impact, if your love truly reaches them. My child, it does. Your influence is spiritual. It is woven into their healing. It is interlaced with their awakening. You are the one whose spirit steadied them when the tremor touched their heart. You are the one whose energy reminded them of truth during moments of doubt. You are the one whose light pushed back the shadow long before you knew a battle was unfolding. And because of this sacred connection, destiny is now correcting itself. The obstacles that once stood between you are weakening. The confusion that clouded your soulmate's heart is dissolving. The jealous one's influence is fading. What once felt delayed is now accelerating. What once seemed fragile is proving its strength. In this sacred role, you have done more than you know. You have held the spiritual line. You have supported a heart that was collapsing under its own weight. You have been the catalyst for awakening. My child, come close for the final part of this revelation, for the reversal you have been sensing is already unfolding around you. The danger that rose against you in the early hours has not only been blocked, it has been overturned, dismantled, and rendered powerless. What was meant to wound you has become the very catalyst that strengthens your destiny. This is the mystery of divine justice. What the enemy sends to break you becomes the material I use to build you stronger. What was meant to confuse your soulmate becomes the moment their heart awakens. What was designed to distance you becomes the force that draws you closer together. When the shadow retreated this morning, it left behind evidence of its failed attempt. That evidence now works in your favor. Every intention recorded, every whisper revealed, every jealous motive exposed has become part of a divine ledger that demands restoration. I do not allow interference without purpose, and I do not permit darkness to touch the edges of your life without turning it into a blessing so profound that even the enemy regrets its attempt. The spiritual attack was blocked, but the blessing released in its place is far greater than the threat ever was. Now, my child, the atmosphere around your destiny is shifting into alignment. The threads that once felt tangled have begun to weave together with clarity. Your soulmate's heart, shaken awake by the tremor they felt, now reaches toward you with a sincerity that no manipulation can silence. Their confusion is dissolving. Their hesitation is weakening. Their longing is becoming direction. They feel the urgency of this moment, even if they cannot articulate it yet. Something inside them whispers that time is precious, that destiny is calling, that you are the one their spirit cannot release. They are beginning to realize that the fear of losing you is greater than the fear of vulnerability, that the risk of silence is heavier than the risk of truth, that their heart beats more steadily when it leans toward you than when it hides from you. This awakening is part of the reversal. The very tremor intended to sever your connection has deepened it instead. The very fear that rose in them has softened their resistance. The very confusion that once clouded their vision has become the soil from which clarity now rises like a dawn. And you, my child, are stepping into a new season of assurance. The doubt you carried silently in your heart, the uneasiness you felt without explanation, the questions that lingered in your spirit, all of it will begin to lighten. Your intuition will confirm what your heart has sensed, that I have been orchestrating a path that leads not to loss, but to alignment. A reversal is not coming someday. It has already begun. The jealous one will feel this shift most strongly. Your influence is fading. Your attempts to draw your soulmate away have lost their spiritual force. They may try to cling, may try to speak words that stir fear or hesitation, but those words will fall flat. Your soulmate's heart is no longer receptive to the energy that once confused them. The spiritual covering around them has strengthened because of your prayers and because of the awakening that took place inside their spirit this morning. My child, the blessing that now rests on your life is not merely protection. It is elevation. It is clarity. It is divine timing unlocking before you like a door that had long been sealed. You will notice signs in the coming days, small shifts, subtle confirmations, moments that align too perfectly to be coincidence. These are the footprints of destiny catching up to you. These are the markers of the reversal taking root. The connection between you and your soulmate is entering a season of stabilization. What once felt uncertain will begin to feel anchored. What once seemed fragile will prove resilient. What once caused fear will now inspire courage. Your heart will find peace in places where anxiety once lived. And now, my child, let this final blessing settle into your spirit. You are protected, you are guided, and you are aligned with a destiny that cannot be stolen, twisted, or undone. The danger has passed. The shadows have retreated. The attack has been overturned. and the blessing rising over you now will carry you into a new beginning where truth reigns, love awakens, and your steps are guided by my hand. If this word speaks deeply to your spirit, let your final act be a soft offering. Like, share, and subscribe so that others may find the guidance they desperately need. And in the comments, speak this truth into existence. The reversal has already begun.